Chapter 1. Clearly, his last hope at a comeback was about to crash and burn. Maybe he was being a little melodramatic, but Spenser Storm knew a good story, knew how to cater to an audience, knew when a script was a disaster, and this one had flames all over it. Yes, the screenplay had all the right ingredients. A winning Western retelling of a widow and her son who leaned on the help of two strangers to save her land. And they were shooting on location in Montana, at a real abandoned Western town rebuilt and redressed for the movie, complete with a jail and a church. They'd even hired an up-and-coming country music star to write original music. The problem was, the producer, Lincoln Cash, picked the wrong man to die. Not that Spenser Storm had a say in it. He'd been given all of 16 lines in the 120-page script. But he wanted to ask, while waving flags and holding a megaphone, who killed off the hero at the end of a movie? Had no one paid any attention to the audience during the screening of Summersby? He didn't care how many Academy-acclaimed actors were attached to this movie, because everyone, even he, would hate the fact that their favorite action hero ended up fading into eternity. And he wasn't talking about himself, but the invincible Winchester Marshal. Perfect. Spenser should probably quit now and go back to herding cattle. Back to ones! Indigo, the first assistant director with her long black hair tied back, earphones around her neck, raised her hand. Spenser nudged his mare, Goldie, back to the position right outside town. Sweat trickled down his spine, and he leaned low so a makeup assistant could wipe his brow. Yeah, something in his gut said trouble. It didn't help that all of Montana had become a broiler, even this early in the summer. The grass yellow, the temperature index soaring, turning even the wind from the pine-saturated mountains into the breath of Hades. But saving the movie wasn't Spenser's job. No. His job was to sit pretty atop his horse and smile for the camera. Those gray-blue eyes smoldery, his body tanned and a little dusty, his golden-brown hair perfectly curled out of his black Stetson, his body buff and muscled under his blue cotton shirt and a leather vest. He wore jeans, black boots, and could have walked off the set of Yellowstone. No, swaggered off the set, because he wasn't a fool. They'd cast him as eye candy, with 16 lines and the guy who got the girl at the end. Spenser was the sizzle for the audience who was too young for Winchester Marshal, the lead of the movie, although Spenser was just a couple years younger. But like Lincoln Cash said when he signed him, Spenser had a special kind of appeal. The kind that packed the convention floor at comic cons around the world. Wow, he hated comic cons, and adults who dressed up as Ewonians and spoke a language only created in fanfic world. If he never heard the name Quillen Cleveland again, he'd die a happy man. He hated to mention to Lincoln that the fans who loved Trek of the Osprey might not enjoy a Western called The Drifters. But a guy with no screen credits to his name for 5 years should probably keep his mouth shut when accepting a role. At least according to his agent, Greg Alexander. Keep his mouth shut, deliver his lines, and maybe, hopefully, he'd be back in the game. We need a little more business from the extras. Director Cosmos Ferguson wore a Drifters t-shirt, jeans and boots, and his own cowboy hat. Feel free to cause more havoc on the set. Behind him, Sven, from SFX, stepped out of the house, checking on the fire cannons for the next shot. The set crew had trailered in an old cabin for today's shoot, a real structure with a porch and a stone chimney that rose from the tattered wooden roof, and plunked it down in a valley just 200 yards from the town, with a corral for the locally sourced horses. It was a postcard of bygone days. Was it only Spenser? Or did anyone else think it might be a bad idea to light a fire inside a rickety wooden house that looked already primed for tinder? Quiet on the set! Around him, the world stopped.